My name is Jordan. I am Chinese American and I identify as a non-binary lesbian.
Hi. Yeah, so I would say that I'm a transgender female, and I'm also Jewish. I'm a big, proud Jew. Yeah.
So I don't really put a lot of thought into the order of operations for this, but my normal slate is non-binary, trans feminine, South Asian, insert political identity. It's usually vaguely in that order, but I don't really give weight to one more than the other.
Hello, Paul.
Hi, I am a him with the possession of his cisgender, Mexican from Los Angeles. I kind of go with the whole identity of Chicano.
I would say it's just been more difficult for my parents to understand like what I mean when I say that I identify as non-binary, just because it's not like something that's really normalized in Chinese culture.
Well, we'll say a play. It's called Zoot Suit. It was also written by a Latinx writer, Luis Rodriguez, maybe? I hope. I think the reason why I attach gender to that play is because of the machismo BS that's attached to gender in my culture. It took me a long time to get more comfortable with gender fluidity because of how I was raised and all the stops that were put in my way, all the obstacles. Like my father, we hugged maybe 5 times in my life, and he's a great guy. My dad's great. I think his father hugged him 3 times, so he did better in that regard.
Yeah, so Judaism, especially like in Orthodox communities, like the ones that I grew up in, it's a very like gendered religion. There's like, the men are gonna go out and do this, and the women they go and do that. There's a lot of those things where it's like the men are doing this and the women are doing that, or you're like all doing something, and then it's like, oh, like we gotta split. And so that caused like a lot of problems with me as a kid, and it definitely made me grow some like disdain towards Judaism when I was younger. And then like as I got older and became more independent, I was kind of able to take the parts of Judaism that I really liked and realize that it's not this like you need to do this, you need to do that kind of religion. And when I kind of had that realization and started living my Jewish life like that, then that's when I really started to like come back and be like, I am a Jew, like I'm a big proud Jew. So now it's definitely like a big part of me. But if you would ask me like 3 or 4 years ago, it would have been a different answer.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm out to my immediate family, and that was an interesting process. I've come out multiple times as a couple things. First as bisexual, as queer, and it's funny because that took a couple tries for my parents to fully appreciate. There was that linguistic barrier where it was kind of hard to describe what queer means. So when I told my parents the first time, hey, I am, I can love both men and women, I think it just went over their heads until I was reading off my college essay, which, implicated various parts of my identity, and my mom was like, why did you call yourself queer in that? So who knows what was missed there, but they've been fairly amicable to that, because we grew up in an environment of explaining ourselves before getting angry or before reacting to things, which I'm very, very grateful for. There are things could be better, things could be a lot worse, and I'll never take for granted that I have this opportunity to explain some of the nitty-gritty parts of my identity that they might not yet appreciate, to ears that are open and willing to listen.
One of the things that made me very interested in doing this was my exploration of gender. I did a play here called And Tell Sad Stories About the Death of Queens by Tennessee Williams. I played a transgender person living in the 1950s who, at the beginning of the play, she is dressed as a male, and in the middle, she comes out and shows her real self to this very machismo-driven male who she thinks she's in love with, and he's a bastard, you know. And I had to get in touch with that side of my femininity and understand the headspace. And I really became very attached to that character. It became a very precious character to me.
Yeah, so I mean, overall, my experience being trans at UConn has been great. Being also Jewish at UConn has been pretty great. I live in GI, gender inclusive housing, which is really great because it's like all of my people who are living around me. You know, gender inclusive housing. There's all the gay people. We're all hanging out together, and that's always really nice. You know, there was like one incident that I had in like our like student union with a little sprinkle of like transphobia a little bit, but like I brought it to attention of like the school and the people who would actually do something about it, and they were like pretty good about it, pretty responsive, and I think we got it handled, and like we actually made like a tangible change in the school, something that we can see. It was for like a restaurant, and it was like for 1 plate, 2 plate in the union.
And you filed an incident report.
I filed an incident report, and the problem was like they would like scan your card, and on your card was like your dead name, and then they'd be like shouting that out to like give out your order. So I like filed this complaint, and I sat down and we talked to someone, and then we got them to change it so they give you like order numbers now instead.
That's a good question, because I feel like I've done a lot of work sort of unintentionally to create my own community, whether it's shout out UConn on Chain, our radical mutual aid organizing group, or just like little enclaves in gender inclusive housing and other environments. I've done a lot to sort of take community and make it in my own terms, or at least in the terms of marginalized people as I've come to understand them. So I guess I've accidentally created a little bit of a bubble. Otherwise, microaggressions are pretty common. However, when you're lucky enough to be in community with a lot of people who think like you or have gone through similar challenges as you, which is mostly the challenge stuff, it's not just being in a hive mind, you tend to feel a lot more protected and welcomed. At this institution, however, it is very suffocating with the establishment of the binary, I guess, hegemonic ideas about fashion, which play into how people gender you in their own heads. So you're always sort of, that's where dysphoria comes in, both like medical and physiological, and also just like cultural, because you're like, you never really know how you're seen.
Varying cultural norms influence how we perceive gender. Sometimes the lack of acceptance is attributed to cultural norm, yet many of them stem from the patriarchal system that oppresses us. Working exclusively within the binary will only continue gender oppression. The master's tools will never dismantle the master's house, Lord. As long as the binary and lack of inclusivity remains on campus, students of various gender identities will remain patronized. We must actively strive to bring down the system and question ourselves as we do so. Are we open? Are we listening? Are we really helping or harming? Allyship requires accountability.